As many of you know, I was in Atlanta for the CNN presidential debate, and of course, amongst all of this discussion about whether or not President Biden is the best candidate to lead the Democratic Party forward, I want to look back at some of the conversations I had with some folks who were there on the spin room floor, specifically as it relates to that very question. Is President Biden the best candidate forward? But also just kind of a general look at where things stand in the campaign. I had the opportunity to speak to Democratic Representative Robert Garcia, who is also a member of the president's National Advisory Board for his campaign. And interestingly enough, I actually spoke to him both before the debate and also after the debate. So I'm going to play both clips for you. A fair bit of consistency in terms of what is being said. He's, saying a lot of the same messaging both before and after the debate. I want to start out with the clip from before the debate. This is an interview that I did with the congressman that aired live on the David Pakman Show and on his live special coverage. A fair warning for you, though, before the clip goes ahead. I was in the spin room, and of course, all of the cameras and everything that are there, and it's what's called a live view unit, which is how they send their signal from the camera directly to the news control rooms. That was taking up almost all of the cellular, and there was no Wi-Fi in the spin room. So the interview that I was doing with the congressman, it all came together very quickly. It was done through Zoom, on my phone, through my cellular data. So the connection and audio, for that matter, is not good at all. But you can still make out what he's saying, and you can still get kind of a clear picture because it is very interesting. So take a look.
All right, guys, we are going to go live back to Wyatt Sharp here because he is in the spin room, and he has Robert Garcia from what he's telling me. Let's see if we can go. Hey, Wyatt, you're on the air, my friend.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. It's going to be kind of a messy setup here. Here, hold on.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Good to see you. All right. So talk to you after. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Sharp's network bandwidth is low. That's not good. That is not good.
Okay.
This is live with David Pakman. He's an online progressive show host. Obviously, you're working with the Biden campaign. What does President Biden have to do tonight to have a good night?
Well, I think President Biden, first of all, is going to do a contrast. I think that's the most important thing. We're going to contrast a president that's a good man, who's supportive of all communities, who supports women, the rights of LGBTQ plus people, who has put an infrastructure plan that people actually can see changing their communities, versus a convicted criminal, felon, traitor, and con man. Donald Trump is an embarrassment to this country. He led an attack on our Capitol, and we're going to make that contrast tonight.
So how does President Biden bring that up in the debate tonight in an effective way that will still kind of be able to not alienate people who are currently supporting Donald Trump?
I mean, look, I think that Joe Biden needs to focus tonight on his record, which is progressive, which is positive, and that's what he's going to do. But he's not going to allow Donald Trump to get away with lies and attacking our communities. And so Joe Biden is a fighter. He's been a kind of scrappy fighter his whole life. And I think you're going to see that Joe Biden tonight. And it's up to all of us across this country to remind people that Donald Trump is a liar, does not tell the truth, and he's only in it for himself and his billionaire friends.
And just lastly here, what's kind of your message to those 10% of Americans who are still independent, undecided, going into November? Obviously, it's an earlier debate, but what would you tell them?
What I would say is that folks should remember that there is an absolute choice. And we don't have to always agree on every single thing a president might implement or might do. But we have to remember that we have a binary choice. You're either going to vote for Joe Biden or you're going to vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a criminal who hates this country. If you have friends from communities of color, you respect women, if you have gay friends, if you believe that gay people should have equal rights, then you need to vote for Joe Biden. And Donald Trump is a danger to democracy. I think that's really important.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and just in the interest of full transparency too, that is the congressman before the debate, and then let's play him after the debate because it is interesting. The messaging, as I said, remains relatively similar, and talking about how Donald Trump is a convicted felon. I did have one question though for him after the debate because he was making the point before I asked my question about how the American people are, quote, waking up and how they're realizing that Donald Trump is a convicted felon, how they don't want to support a convicted felon. And so I was asking him, well, is it really fair to make that point, given that after every indictment, After the conviction, his polling numbers have increased, his fundraising numbers have increased. Is it really fair to make that argument? I posed that question to the congressman. Take a look.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is it really fair to say that, for example, you're mentioning the conviction, but every indictment, his polling numbers have only increased, his fundraising numbers have only increased? Is it really fair to make that argument?
Look, I think both candidates are obviously raising a lot of money, and I think at the end of the day, polls have been close. We've always said this is going to be a close election. I think the Biden campaign has never once said this was not going to be a close election. It was always going to be a close election. But the important thing is every single day from here to November, we're going to make a contrast between somebody that's lowered the price of insulin, expanded healthcare, protecting a woman's right to choose, and is making sure that students and the LGBTQ plus community are supported, versus someone who literally led an attack on the Capitol and is a convicted criminal. And that's an important distinction to make.
This video is sponsored by Navigator. Navigator is Canada's leading high-stakes strategic advisory and communications firm. It's where Canada's most prominent organizations and individuals turn when they can't afford to lose. As well as public affairs strategy and communications consulting, Navigator offers crisis management, government relations, public opinion research, digital advocacy, design, and campaign services. Navigator has 25 years of experience with mandates spanning every industry and region in Canada, advising C-suites and boards of the country's largest companies and organizations, as well as international clients. From financial institutions and energy leaders to universities and hospitals, Navigator offers clients integrated solutions to solve their issues and approach challenges in a new way. With client-focused expertise, grounded in research, 24/7 availability, and deep experience, if you are in need of Canadian public affairs strategy, visit Navigator at navltd.com.